Hi, it's Laura at Aquamarine18 Tarot and Books. Thanks for stopping by my channel today. Welcome or welcome back. It has been a while. I have been around on YouTube commenting on people's videos here and there, as some of you will know, but it has been a little while since I've uploaded anything. And I was watching Three Girls the other day and the catch-up video that they do, and that has kind of inspired this. I figured that a fun video to make, having not made something for a while, would be a kind of catch-up recap for the first quarter of 2025, January, February, March. And so in some order, I thought I would share, and I have notes down there, I would share decks that I have acquired or purchased this year so far, what I've been working with a lot, things that I've backed on Kickstarter, you know, the deck update. The 5-star books that I've read so far in 2025. I'm definitely not going to share with you every book I've read in 2025. If you want that, you can find me on Storygraph. I will link below where I review everything, but I'll share some 5-star books. I've read 5 of them so far, so that's exciting. I thought I would share some study that I've been up to, learning and classes and things like that. My planner setup and how I've been enjoying and using that. I did make a 2025 planner video back in 2024 when I was kind of setting things up. So I thought I would kind of check in about that. Briefly, television. Three Girls talk about film and television. I'm never watching anything for the most part, but I have one television review worth sharing, I think. So I'll throw that in. Yeah. And just, I guess, some general life update stuff. This was something that I had thought about doing a little bit earlier in the month of April. And I make this with no kind of plan of quarterly recaps being a thing that I'm committing to for the year or anything like that. It's just something that I thought of doing. But as some folks may know, as many probably will not, we, in the middle of Ontario, had an ice storm at the beginning of this month. So I was out electricity for 4 days. Internet a little bit longer than that, but not by much, just kind of a half a day longer with internet lines being down. Some of my city was without electricity for a week or more. We were one of the hardest hit places. I will try to put some pictures of the ice storm from some local newspapers and things up there, just to give a sense of what it looked like here. It was really devastating. We lost a lot of trees, which is just gutting for me, as a druid and a tree person. The house got down to 50 degrees Fahrenheit, I think. At one point, we did end up getting a generator, and we ended up kind of setting things up to run our furnace on the generator, but we did that so late in the power outage, but by the time that we figured it out, the power was back on. So we're better prepared for next time, I suppose, but it was rough. There was a lot of damage. There's a lot of loss amidst that storm. We got through pretty okay. We had branches landing on our roof. We didn't have any severe damage or anything like that. We managed to save the contents of our refrigerator and freezer, which weren't much because the power went out the night before we normally do our groceries. So we just didn't have a lot, and we decided not to buy anything because we were afraid of losing food. We barbecued as much as we could, because obviously propane barbecue was not affected by the power outage, but a lot of people lost a lot. Local food banks lost a lot. It was a rough time. So the beginning of this month has kind of been just recuperating and getting reoriented from that. But that's second quarter content update. January, February, March. I guess the biggest thing that I will share, and I can't remember if I shared this already or not, is that I have become a companion in the AODA. as a druid. So I completed my apprentice degree, which took about 2.5 years for me. It's 2-year minimum that you have to take to complete apprentice work. So I completed that, went through the process of completion and submitting work and this and that. And I was, approved, I guess, for lack of better language. I graduated. I leveled up as a druid. So I am now a Druid Companion, which I'm really excited about. I'm looking forward in my druid practice to completing the companion degree. The companion degree is structured very differently in AODA than the prior ones because there's no curriculum. So it's really about defining a project for yourself. That project gets approved and then you work on it for 3 years minimum. And there's, huge variety in terms of what that kind of project can look like, but part of it involves making a contribution to contemporary druidry, right? So people write books, people design classes and workshops, people put on art exhibitions. Like there tends to be a degree of public work involved in the companion degree. So I'm very much still conceptualizing. I have some sense of what a format might look like, but I'm not decided yet. But I will share. I will share what my plans are with that as they develop, I imagine, at some point. So that's my druid update. Going on to decks. I've already shared this deck on my channel, but the only deck that I've purchased in 2025 that I have is the Bloodlands Oracle by Amory Abbott. This is a mass market deck. I made a review of this deck. I purchased it very early in the year, and it's a black and white nature-based deck. Really beautiful. Really nice to work with. Really great guidebook. You can go back a couple of videos and check out my review in detail, but I've really been enjoying this. I'm really glad that I got it. Really, really beautiful deck. So that is the one deck that I have purchased in 2025 that I have. I am also waiting on a deck that my partner bought for me as a gift. Actually, as a thank you gift for doing some work. My partner's a business owner and I was helping out with a whole bunch of things. So got a thank you deck that's coming in the mail. I think I will wait and show that deck to you maybe in a walkthrough or kind of review or something like that, because it's not a deck that I've seen on YouTube much, if at all. So I think I'm going to wait and surprise about that. But I do have one gift deck coming and it's an Oracle deck. So I'm excited to see that. I also received 2 other decks in the first quarter of 2025, but they were decks that I had backed or purchased or pre-ordered in 2024. So I've already shared that I got the Blue Earth Tarot in 2024 at the very end of the year, and it arrived in early 2025. I'm obsessed with the Blue Earth Tarot. I don't have it here with me, but through the worst of grief time, through February and March, it was extremely supportive. It's a really good deck. If you haven't looked at the Blue Earth Tarot, do check it out. It's a cyanotype deck, which is a really cool medium that I don't see a lot of folks working in, which I think is really cool. Really like that. I also received in the first quarter, but purchased last year, my Cerulean Sequence by James R. Eads. Everyone will have seen this deck at this point. Clearly I had a blue theme going. I felt blue. Maybe that is what lined up there. This is a numerology-based deck that has this seedling script that James created that is a thing that you can decipher. It's kind of one-to-one, like there's a symbol for each letter of the alphabet. And there's a whole guidebook written in this seedling script. And so I totally spent the time decrypting that, and it was really fun. You know, it gets in my enthusiasm for puzzles was supported by this deck. And once you start working with it, the script becomes just readable, which is a really interesting, like, feeling your brain all of a sudden shift into be able to just read this on site is a really fun experience. And I had quite a lot of fun working with this. It's been off my table for a while now since I got it, but I had a lot of fun working with this and the spreads in the book. I'm glad I bought this. I kind of bought it on concept, not knowing quite how I would get on with it, but I quite like it. So those are the decks that I got in the first quarter of 2025. I am also waiting for some others from 2024. I'm not going to get into all of those. Maybe I'll still be on YouTube and I'll share when they come. This first 3 months of 2025, though, I did back 2 decks on Kickstarter. I'm being very cautious with the Kickstarters at this point. A lot of things, frankly, like, have not appealed to me, and I hope that doesn't sound horrible, but the very, very, very vast majority of things that have been releasing on Kickstarter for pre-order and things like that for 2025 have not interested me in the slightest. But 2 have gone onto Kickstarter this past quarter that were on my wish list that I was really waiting for. And so I backed those. One is the Cracked Amethyst Tarot by Jessica Bott, which is a kind of reimagined Idiosyncra deck. And the Idiosyncra deck's been out of print for a long while. It's impossible to find. And in that Kickstarter, Jessica has made a mini of the Idiosyncra deck available and a mini of the Oracle deck that she did as Amethyst Oracle, I think it's called, as well. So I backed that campaign for the Cracked Amethyst Tarot and the mini Idiosyncra deck. I did not go for the Oracle. I just don't think I would use it. I have her Phenomena Oracle. I like that one well enough. I'm happy with the 2 tarots, so I'm looking forward to those. That campaign closed, I think. So I'm excited for that. I'm also in for backing the Endless Tarot. The Endless Oracle was one of my favorite oracles of the year. I really, really like that deck so much. So I knew, as soon as I knew that there was an Endless Tarot, I knew that I would be interested in it, and I'm very much excited for Eric, the creator, for the launch of the Endless Tarot. I think it's going to be beautiful. Really, really beautiful deck. So that is what I have ordered and what I have received from the last 3 months. I thought I would peek at my tarot wish list as well, since I have my planners here. There's not much, actually, because as I've just mentioned, things that have been on the wish list have come up on Kickstarter and I've backed them, so I've kind of checked them off the list, even though I haven't actually physically received them yet, as being things that are kind of on the way. So my wish list has really dwindled. And the wish list is a to explore list for me, right? So this is not, I'm going to get every single thing on this list, just things I'm kind of keeping track of. Things that are still on the list, or that are on the list at this time. Lineages of Change Tarot, put out by AK Press, which is a collaborative deck that is in some reference to Octavia Butler's work. Lineages of Change Tarot is a deck that I really want. And I've just kind of been waiting for, because it's been out of stock on AK Press's website. And it has said ships in April. So I figured I would just wait until April, or wait until that kind of note disappeared so it was in stock, and then I would look at it. And it is now April, and it is now in stock. So I plan to get Lineages of Change Tarot. I haven't, put it in the cart and checked out just yet, but that is absolutely a deck that I want to explore. I wonder if it may end up being more like an oracle for me insofar as it is a collaborative deck with a lot of very different styles in it, which is not something I'm normally into, but it's an Octavia Butler deck, so I'm obviously into it. Also in the wish list, Back Pocket Oracle, which is Auntie Kay's Tarot's playing cards. I want that oracle deck for sure. Aquarius Rising Oracle, which is a playing card oracle by Charlie Claire Burgess that is in the works. No idea when this will be coming out. They have a new book coming out, Queer Devotion, or maybe it is out already. I'm not sure. It's not a theme that is really my area, so I probably won't read the book, but I'm definitely keen on Aquarius Rising Oracle. Earth Blessings Oracle, which is a mass market oracle, very much in the vein of the Sea Soul Journeys, but not specifically ocean themed, more generally kind of earth and nature themed. I would like to pick up at some point. I'm not sure like when or from where. I think I'll see if my local bookstore can get it at some point. Not sure, but it's definitely on the list of something that I would like to explore. Mindscape's Tarot full 78 card deck by John Rice, forthcoming. That one, I have the majors only for Mindscape's Tarot, so I'm keen to see what the minors look like. It's not a for sure, but I really like the majors only deck a lot, so that's one that I'm looking at. I have written down on my wish list Earth-themed tarot deck by Rachel Torda. Rachel Torda is the creator of the Flow Tarot, which is a water themed as it sounds. This I think is a concept at this point. She's working on or is interested in working on an earth-based tarot deck, and I'm interested in seeing what that's like. No imagery so far, no dates as far as I know, but it's a thing I'm interested in. Wisdom of Place Tarot is a thing I saw on YouTube here, and I wrote it down because I thought that looks interesting. Because Wisdom of Place Tarot has a geomancy reference in it, and that immediately catches my eye. Whether this will join my collection or not, who knows, but it was a thing that I, was captivated by. I'm also going to write down, because it's not on my list right now, but I know that I will get it when it comes. I would like to get the Lubanco Tarot mass market. I have the indie, the way out of print indie that I got quite some time ago, but I would definitely like to have the mass market. I would feel much more comfortable carrying the mass market around than the indie, so I will get that. That is decks. That's where I'm at with decks for now. Why don't I go to planners next, briefly, just since I've got my planner out that has my to explore / wish list in the back. This is a setup that is very similar to what I had in 2024. This is the Kinbor Weeks inside of a cork cover that I got on Etsy that I really love. That's very, very good quality from KKG Goods. This is a really good cover. And this is my weekly planner where I write down my appointments, Zoom calls, classes, book club, places that I need to be so that I don't miss things. It mostly helps. I'll show just a blank one. Okay. So it's kind of weekly layout like that. And I write in the moon phases and signs for new and full moons. And I use the right hand side for kind of to-do lists and notes and things. This is working very well for me. I loved it last year. I love it this year. I did fill it in with a sigil with my Word of the Year foundation. I've got my Animals of the Month down here with, which I've been doing with formerly Cosmic Creeper and Animal Gnosis. And I have some cards of the year there that I've been looking at. And then in the front, I've used the front sections for things like friends' birthdays, astrological transits of note, things like that. So that is working very well. I have the Honeycomb Personal Almanac for astrology with the Hellenistic plugin in it. So it has the zodiacal releasing periods, which I do not know how to use. Aspirational. I will get there at some point. But I have been loving Honeycomb. I always love Honeycomb. as a spot to take notes. It's a informational resource. It does not have interpretations and stuff in it, but it has a lot of useful kind of graphics, and I really like it. The only thing that would make this better to me is if the paper was better. It is not fountain pen friendly. But other than that, I've been enjoying the honeycomb and tracking transits in there. And last but certainly not least, I have this year been loving for having the first time ever Hobonichi Cousin. I had the Techo before. I have had different planners, different years, different planners. This is the biggest page a day that I have ever had, and I am filling it. I am filling the page a day, no problem. I'm not going to show you my daily pages because they are personal. They have all my cards of the day in them. But it's just my handwriting. It's not anything artistically interesting. It's really mostly just writing. There's the odd picture that I've printed out on my little photo printer, but mostly it's just handwriting. I'm using the front weekly spreads for weather tracking. So to give an example of what that looks like, I have sun and moon rise and set times, some basic observations, weather station reading once a day, weather represented with stamps, and then I write down for the day, kind of retroactively obviously, the mean temperature, the low, the high of the day, the amount of precipitation per day, and also the fastest recorded wind gust if there was one. And I get that from a weather station at the university where I used to work. It has one. So you can look at that online on the Government of Canada website. There's a bunch of weather stations you can look. And that's the closest one to me, so that's what I have been using. This has been a really grounding practice. And the weather tracking stuff is not new to me, but that setup is, and I've been really liking it. In the month to 2 pages layout, I will show you one January. I have been tracking what decks I used on any given day. So not exactly what the reading was or anything necessarily, but just writing down which decks I used and then adding them up. So I know, for example, in January, I used the Nomad Tarot 11 times, Lubanco 7 times, Blue Earth Tarot 19 times, Tarot of Architectural Objects once, Fifth Spirit Tarot twice, and then I have counts for Oracle and also for different systems, like how many geomancy readings that I did, dice, dominoes, OM, etc. So that's something that I've never done before, actually, counting the usage of different decks like that. And I'm just finding it interesting. Like, I'm not tracking it with any particular goal in mind other than interesting information. So I will share that maybe at the end of the year. I'll find a way to share that. I'll be curious to see kind of what gets most used. Obviously I can guess like what that will be, but what gets most used, what gets least used, and how I feel about that. I think it's an interesting thing. So big book, very happy with the big book. That is planners. On to books that I have read. I have read quite a lot of books this year so far, though Storygraph is telling me that I am 1,000 pages behind of the page count that I set as my aspiration for 2025, and a couple of books behind in terms of the book title count, which I frankly don't care about, but I just put in as 100. I had a rough February and March. As I've mentioned, I am not at all surprised that I am behind. I don't really care that I'm behind. I'm enjoying reading again, which feels good. I've read 5 books so far this year that I gave 5 stars to, so I thought I would share those in, I guess, the order in which I read them, and I'll put a cover up here for the ones that I have. I don't have to show you. I have a couple in hard copy, but 3 of them were ebooks. I read and loved The Buffalo Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones. There are a couple of other folks in the TarotTube and TarotTube adjacent communities that have talked about this book. It is a horror novel. It is a historical horror novel which makes reference to a historical massacre that occurred, and it is fucking terrifying. I thought it was really, really good. I am just kind of inching my way into being a horror reader. It's not a genre that I would say is central to my reading. But I think Stephen Graham Jones is brilliant. It's the second book I've read from him. It is kind of vampire novel as well. And it is set up in a way that historically this vampire called Good Stab is telling, kind of his story to this priest. And then there's a framing where this is in a diary that is found in kind of closer to present day. I didn't love the present day framing so much that you get at the very beginning and very end as I did the historical parts, but so scary, this book. Not for the squeamish. Definitely read the content warnings, particularly if gore is going to bother you. But I really liked The Buffalo Hunter so much. It was very anticipated for me. I got an advanced copy of it. So good. So good. 5 stars. I also gave 5 stars to a book I've mentioned before, The Worlds Without End, The Many Lives of the Multiverse by Mary Jane Rubenstein. This is excellent. This is the same author who wrote the book Pantheologies, which I can't recommend enough as a book about pantheism. This one was more out of my wheelhouse, so to speak. This definitely, I would say, had components that went over my head, particularly in some of the science content. I would say, I've underlined lots of interesting things about the mass of the universe and so on, but some of the content definitely was very challenging, but really interesting exploration of kind of the implications of multiverse cosmologies and why they're interesting and why they're kind of interesting at different historical junctures for various reasons. That I thought was really interesting. And I really like the way that Rubenstein writes. So 5 stars for that. I also gave 5 stars to The Lotus Empire by Tasha Suri. I don't really want to say anything about the plot of this book, really because it is the 3rd book in a trilogy. The Jasmine Throne is first, the Oleander Sword is second, and the Lotus Empire is 3rd. And I loved all 3 of these books. They are fantasy novels set in a very much Indian-inspired landscape and world. They are queer, and they're political, and they're really, really good fantasy. So I would 100% recommend this series. You absolutely cannot read The Lotus Empire without reading the first 2 books first. The second and third books in the series are not standalones in any way whatsoever. It's very much a continuous plot across the 3 with characters common across all 3. But if you're looking for a fantasy trilogy to start, definitely this series, starting with the Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri. 100% recommend. I thought it was excellent. I'm always really happy when I can give a 3rd book in a trilogy or like a final book in a series 5 stars, because it's like that means that it wrapped up what was probably a really good series in a really satisfying way. And this definitely did that. Very happy. This was another book that I got an advanced copy of from NetGalley, and that I was very much anticipating. And the second I saw it there, I'm like, yes, please give me this book. I want to read it so much. And I loved it. So definitely check that out. Again, not going to say very much about it. Go read the synopsis of The Jasmine Throne, and if that appeals to you, start there. I also gave 5 stars, and I knew that this would be the case. I could have rated it before I read it, to be honest. To Survival is a Promise, The Eternal Life of Audre Lorde by Alexis Pauline Gumbs. There's a picture of Audre Lorde there on the front. This is a beautiful celebration of Audre Lorde and Audre Lorde's work, particularly her poetry, which I am less familiar with than her essays. It is a weird thing to say that I'm not really a poetry person, but I'm not really a poetry person. I've read, a lot of Lorde's work in terms of essays, but the poetry not so much. So I actually went and bought a book of poetry, like a collected kind of omnibus of all of her poetry books. I haven't read that yet, but I want to based on this. Alexis Pauline Gumbs is also the author of Undrowned, Black Feminist Lessons from Marine Mammals, which is one of my all-time favorites and such an inspiring book. This is extraordinary. The work that Alexis Pauline Gumbs has done in terms of archival work, is extraordinary. It is not a conventional biography by any means, but all the ways in which it is not a conventional biography are what make it amazing. It is a beautiful book to read. It is one that you could kind of jump around in if you wanted to, from section to section. I read it in a linear way, and I cherish this book. Really beautiful. Can't recommend this enough. Amazing. And the last 5-star book I read, which was an ebook for me, was Rehearsals for Living by Robin Maynard and Leanne Batasamasak Simpson. This book is a couple of years old now, and it is constructed as a series of letters exchanged by the two authors. And they are writing back and forth about kind of anti-racist and decolonial coalition building, about movement work, about social justice, and they're writing these letters back and forth to each other, at least in large part, during pandemic lockdown. And so they're also kind of writing about that context in relation to social justice work and talking about their families and what they're doing. And this is something that has been on my e-reader for quite some time. I picked it up probably on a sale. And I've read both authors before, like solo authored books from both Leanne Batasamasak Simpson a few times and Robin Maynard as well. And so the two of them together, I knew that I would be interested in reading this book, and I finally read it earlier this year, and what a gift this book is. Definitely recommend. I haven't read a book structured quite like this before, and I think that the structure in terms of letters does something interesting in relation to the content, if that makes sense. Really, really enjoyed. 5 stars. So those are my 5 favorite books, effectively, that I've read in 2025 quarter 1, because they're the 5 that I've given 5 stars to. It's a good reading year so far, I would say. Do let me know in the comments if you've been reading anything particularly fabulous this year. I would love to know. Television. I don't usually have a television or a film section in monthly recaps or any kind of update video, because really we don't watch much. And when we watch anything, it's like we'll watch one episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine while we're eating dinner, kind of thing. Like, not something that I'm going to come on and gush about as a new thing, I'm just not a big TV household, really not a big movie household. Much more to say about books. And this year, the first quarter of, it feels weird to talk about the quarter, it feels like fiscal or something, but the first quarter of 2025, I would say we watched even less because my partner broke our television. It was an accident. Shit happens. Didn't even realize it had happened until we went to turn it on, and there was like a clear spot where the screen had been impacted. Not happy. Not happy. We only own one television. It's in our basement. Not impressed. So this is a bit off topic, I know, but it is impossible to get a television repaired, and that, as an environmentally conscious human, makes me upset. This television that we bought, it wasn't, it wasn't anything like super fancy or super large or special or anything. It's a, basic, like, smaller end flat screen TV that we bought in, I don't know, 2021 or thereabouts. Like, it's not super new, nothing like this. We got quoted like $800 for a part to fix this television. And then the place that quoted us was like, oh, we wouldn't actually even fix it though. You just have to buy a new one. And I'm appalled by that. So we looked at new televisions, and they all have features and kind of data collection and bullshit that I'm not interested in having in my house. So we ended up buying a smaller television than what we had before, secondhand, from a friend down the street who was moving. So we got our television and we set it up, and we got it working. And we watched one new to both of us season of television. And that was Shogun. 10 episodes in season 1. It's been already renewed for season 2 and season 3, and probably everybody that I'm talking to here has heard of Shogun because it won like every award it could have, I think. Records were broken. And it has been renewed and, is massively successful. And we really liked it. It's mind-boggling to me, this television, in terms of its kind of scope and visually, like it's so beautiful and epic, and there's so many amazing actors in it, like so many amazing performances in it. I'm very eagerly awaiting season 2 of Shogun. I thought it was excellent. It has some basis in a book that I have not read and really know basically nothing about. So I went in knowing that, and knowing that there was also a historical, like there's some basis in historical kind of people or developments as well, but not knowing a ton about that. Went in pretty fresh, like had seen a trailer and nothing else. And wow, so good. If you've seen it, tell me what you thought, because I thought it was great. I am waiting for, next month I think, the premiere of Murderbot. People probably know that I'm a big Murderbot fan in terms of the books by Martha Wells. And I have to say that both myself and my friend, who also love the Murderbot books, we're planning to watch it together at his house, because he has a better television setup, basically. We're planning to have a little watch party at his house for the premiere of Murderbot, but we're both being super prepared to hate it, because if you're familiar with Murderbot, the books, and you've seen the Murderbot trailer, you probably can guess why I think that it's not going to be very good. If I start detailing, I will get annoyed. So I will report back maybe on what I thought of Murderbot, but not thinking that it's going to be very good. Shogun, on the other hand, excellent. Went in with very little expectation, other than knowing obviously that it was widely awarded and reviewed very well. And reviewed very well in Japan as well. It's historical and it's set in Japan, and it did well there as well. It's mostly subtitled also. Shogun was amazing, I thought. That's television. Last but not least, I will share something that I've been enjoying this past couple of months. Learning. and that is astrology. I have done so much good astrology learning in the last couple of months. And by good, I mean enjoyable for me. First, I will mention that I finished this workbook, Astrology for Yourself, a workbook for personal transformation by Douglas Block and Demetra George. This is quite an old, I think it's actually exactly as old as me. We might have the same birth year, me and this book. Yeah, we do. So this is a 38-year-old book. And, you know, if you're familiar with tarot for yourself, you'll know that this is very much a workbook. It's a fill in the blank where you get to know your birth chart. And me and my friend worked through this together, and I had a great time. We went very slowly. We had Zoom calls. We chatted about our findings. We gave each other feedback, and I had such a good time. I think that this book has actually aged remarkably well in terms of, you know, not being really, really laden with gender binary bullshit or like things like this that can crop up a lot in books like this, including ones published now, unfortunately, but certainly ones published previous as well. I really enjoyed this. I feel like I got a lot out of it. I feel like I know my chart better. I engaged with parts of my chart with this that I have never considered in any way, like some asteroids and things like this. So really, really good. I really like the format. It's a little bit find the phrase and fill in the blank. Like it can be quite formulaic, but I think that they're really good jumping off points. I think that the visuals in the book, like the chart visuals in the book, could definitely do with an update. They're hard to read as somebody used to fancy software, but it's a really good workbook. So I really enjoyed that. All of my learning that I'm going to tell you about is astrology. I'm also in the midst of, and it's taking me a very long time, Chris Brennan's Hellenistic astrology class. So I've been reading Hellenistic Astrology, the Study of Fate and Fortune, and I'm quite far in. You can see there. I am on page 495, and I'm reading it along with his course, which I purchased quite some time ago now. And it's a kind of self-paced. There's video lectures, there's reading from here, there's reading from, there's a Vettius Valens translation that's also a required book. There are some other snippets, academic articles and things that are made available through the course. There's lots of diagrams and things, and I'm going through that, including the supplementary material and learning Hellenistic astrology in this way. And I love this. I really, really am enjoying this course. I'm past halfway, I think, at this point, but not by much. It is a lot. The video lectures are very long, like not long, not a length that you can feasibly watch in one sitting, at least not that I can. Some of them are like 7 hours long. I'm taking tons of notes. I have wanted to study astrology for so long, and it's never really stuck. And making astrology study part of my Druidry Apprentice curriculum plan really helped it stick for me, because it meant that I was working on it in a broader context and I was going to reflect on it and write about it in the context of completing that apprentice degree. But I've been, of course, continuing now that my apprentice degree is done. And I'm really, really, really enjoying this. So good. I've also done a couple of workshops, like asynchronous, with Michael J. Morris, who is fantastic. Some workshops on their website that are, like, when you buy them, you get slides, an audio recording, and a video recording of them going through the slides typically. Some of them are talks from different conferences and things like that, specifically focusing on feminist and queer themes in astrology, including in Hellenistic astrology specifically. And I've really been enjoying their work in that area, and I think I've bought 3 of those workshops now, and I've gone through 2, and I have 1 left to go. I watched one, the most recent one I watched was a kind of feminist astrology and the moon, and I think it was amazing. I recommend it wholeheartedly. Finally, I am in the middle of a class called Conjuring Signs with Stars Dance Astrology Mystery School, which is on Patreon. And I've mentioned Stars Dance before. I've been a member for a long time, a patron for a long time. And Stars Dance includes a daily forecast and a Discord server and a bunch of things, built into the Patreon. Sometimes that includes courses. And right now we're working on Conjuring Signs class, where we follow the moon as it moves through the signs. So we started with moon in Aries and are progressing through and kind of talking about our experiences of those shifts. And for each of the moon kind of ingresses into a new sign, I've been drawing a card from the Herb Crafter's Tarot, which is kind of new to me. Not new this year, but one that I haven't worked with a ton and I'm a little bit intimidated by, to be honest. And also with that, drawing a oracle card from Cedar McLeod's Uncertain Oracle. Super interesting. Kind of synchronicities and patterns in terms of the cards that I'm getting, and the sign placements of the moon in terms of kind of element and modality and things like this. Really interesting. So that's going to end soon, but I think I'm going to keep going, because I haven't done every part of the Conjuring Signs class. There are reflection questions and activities and things, and I haven't done all of them. The moon only stays in a sign for a couple of days, so I've kind of picked what I wanted to most do in terms of logging my mood and what I've been up to, and also drawing the cards as the moon has gone through all of the signs. And I think when the moon enters Aries again, I'll start over, but maybe I'll do all of the prompts, for the next cycle, and then, do something else. And I'm building these kind of layers of associations and familiarities with the moon in different signs in ways that feel really good. So I have an interesting mix, I think, of Hellenistic astrology, contemporary perspectives on Hellenistic astrology, modern astrology, and I'm in that process finding how astrology works for me, developing a perspective and a practice, I would say, in ways that feel really supportive through some times that have been really shit. So that's been my studies for the first quarter. And I think that that's everything that I wanted to share. Druidry, planners, decks, TV, books, learning. That's been my first quarter of 2025 in terms of things that I've been loving. I wanted to share things that I've been loving, because things feel and are really scary right now. I've shared that I've been grieving. It hasn't been a good time in all kinds of ways. It continues to not be a good time in all kinds of ways, but I've been loving these things as well. So I wanted to share those with you. Tell me what you've been loving in the last little while. Decks or books or whatever that might be. Do say hi. I think I will come back on and film another video in the near future when my gift oracle deck arrives. So keep an eye out for that. I hope you're well, and I will see you again sometime. Thanks for watching.